I was delighted to have recently received a copy of this new book. It's called Loughcrew Cairns, A Visitor's Guide. And it's the first book about the Loughcrew Cairns to have been published since Jean McMahon's guide to the Loughcrew Cairns, which was first published in 1993. This latest lovely little book, I have to say, is a collaborative effort by 5 different authors, and they are Malachy Hand, George Knight, Tina Halpin, Susan Flynn and Siobhan Barrett. And it's a full colour publication, so it's packed with colour photographs, maps, illustrations, drawings, etc, etc. It's very nicely put together, and it's a nice little guide to, you know, the archaeology, the landscape, the mythology, the astronomy, the alignments, etc, etc of Loughcrew, and contains some very nice and interesting little tidbits of information, some of which I didn't honestly know. I didn't realise that there were photographs from the time of Conwell's excavations. There's one there on page 34 showing Cairn L from the Conwell collection from the 1870s. Anyway, just to give you a very brief reading from a chapter entitled Loughcrew Mystery and Intrigue by Tina Halpin, just to give you a tiny little taster, and then perhaps you might go and source your own copy. Loughcrew is more than just a collection of megalithic tombs. It may be a complex series of interconnected solar calendars defining the year and possibly celestial events. It is feasible that the 4 hills which make up the site, Patrickstown, Cairnban East, Carrickbrack and Cairnban West, were a moving stage of all solar events, including the solstices, an observatory of the heavens and the surrounding countryside of lakes and far-off mountains. Lovely description, that. Neolithic people, therefore, must have been quite sophisticated and technologically advanced in order to have constructed such elaborate and accurate, long-lasting devices. They stand as a legacy stretching back more than 5,000 years, a real connection to our ancestors. They do not require electricity or any form of utility to make them work, only the harnessing of the sun's light. They may have impacted on the lives of the settlers of this time, allowing them to carry out their day-to-day activities and preparing themselves for the seasons, possibly helping them to become settled farmers rather than nomads. Fast forward more than 5,000 years to the 21st century, where technology is changing at an increasingly rapid rate, and yet we still find ourselves without the answers to so many questions about Loughcrew. It is hard to understand how, despite being such a visible and focal point on the landscape, and obviously an important place in antiquity, Loughcrew has remained so anonymous, even up to the recent past. It is, after all, the highest point in County Meath, and the nearby town of Oldcastle was connected by the Great Northern Railway for almost 100 years between 1863 and 1963. But it is now more than 150 years since Eugene Conwell discovered and documented the site in 1863, discovered in quote marks, and over 70 years since Joseph Raftery's selective excavations of Cairnban West in 1943. If there is another, more spiritual side to Loughcrew, perhaps the present time is ideal for considering some of the more unusual possibilities. We may ask ourselves, are they by coincidence or deliberate design? Interestingly, the site has many aspects that make one wonder about the builders' intentions and their knowledge of the location from both a geographical and scientific perspective. The rivers on one side of the Loughcrew complex drain into the Shannon catchment and Atlantic Ocean, and on the other side they drain into the Blackwater Boyne and on out into the Irish Sea. To stand on the Loughcrew hills and witness the panorama of what, on a clear day, is an unbroken view of 18 of the 32 counties on the island of Ireland is astounding and breathtaking, especially from an elevation that is less than 300 metres, 276 metres. In the days before modern communication, this surely was the Neolithic equivalent of Marconi's radio relay stations or the telecommunications masts of today. Was it a means of transmitting important astronomical, solar or ritual events to all the cardinal points by lighting bonfires on top of the hills? Other sites, it would seem, are oriented towards Loughcrew. In the Loughcrew Hills and Passage Tomb Complex 2011, Frank Prendergast of the Dublin Institute of Technology describes his discovery of another possible alignment of stones at nearby Thomastown, which captures the sun setting behind Cairn T on the summer solstice. This points to a connection that reached beyond the local environs. And of course, Loughcrew is the target of the alignment of one of the passage tombs on the summit of Slieve Gullion in County Armagh, which is quite a distance to the northeast of Loughcrew, possibly of about, maybe 25 miles or so to the northeast. But anyway, that's a beautiful little publication and very, very welcome. As I say, the first, up until its publication, Jean McMahon's book was the only publication that dealt exclusively with Loughcrew. So it's nice to see Loughcrew getting a proper mention. It tends to be somewhat overshadowed by the larger but later monuments of Brunabonia, Newgrange, Knowth and Douth. Loughcrew has a more organic and sort of unspoilt feel about it, despite the intrusions of the archaeologists in recent centuries. The book can be sourced online at the Loughcrew Megalithic Centre, and that's www.loughcrewmegalithiccenter.com. It would make a lovely Christmas present for anybody who's interested in ancient Ireland or its myths, or indeed any of the subjects that are covered, which range from archaeology through astronomy and landscape, etc. And there's even a nice little chapter about nature, flowers, insects, birds, trees, etc. at Loughcrew and its hinterland. So a very, very interesting little publication and well worth the investment.